Hi everyone, my name is James and I'm starting this new YouTube channel today called Oversimplified. I've been playing the game since late February, early March of 2019. I enjoy the game and more importantly the community very much. There is a ton of incredibly valuable information on YouTube, Reddit, Twitch, and just the internet in general for the introductory stages of the game that spans over how to complete the campaign, who to make your first 6-star or your next 6-star, viable claim bot strategies, especially for the earlier stages, and so on and so forth. On this channel, we will not just be simplifying the deeper levels of the game, but we will actually be oversimplifying them, because from my own experiences, I feel that objectivity starts to fade as everyone's account diverges further and further from each other. It becomes futile and ineffectual, in my opinion, to look at champions in isolation, because as you progress, their viability becomes ever more subjective to a complex web of synergy between abilities, artifacts, and masteries in each specific team composition. The possibilities from there are quite literally astronomical, especially as the game evolves, which is why I simply aim to provide a general framework for how certain content can be done, and preferably done efficiently. So having said that, all opinions stated here are of my own. I form most of them by talking to the people that I interact with in the community, which is to say that it is inherently limited in scope. So I welcome any ideas that you may have, whether it's to improve run times or general performance indicators in the game, or for the channel. For this first video, we are going to talk about how to speedrun Fire Knight 20. This topic is of interest to me because this dungeon drops several very nice to have, but not what I would consider 100% necessarily must-have sets, namely the stun set, the savage set, and the crit damage set. I think the Frenzy set is niche but grossly underrated. The Shield set is probably the best of the rest, but it is always a good idea to hang on to your good pieces from any of the sets, because the meta changes all the time, and that's a great thing. I think most of these sets are somewhat curveballs that requires a holistic and comprehensive strategy for them to actualize their potential. In general, I think the Fire Knight artifacts are more PvP focused, and to me that's what's attractive about them. I think strong PvP content is definitely the basis for a game like this, especially in terms of growth in the long term for the game and the community. And so our goal today is to bring down the Fire Knight level 20 in 2.5 minutes, roughly on average, while maintaining whatever else it is that these champions do for their day job. Most Fire Knight 20 teams I have seen usually run in that 4 to 6 minute range, and since our goal today is a little bit faster than that, we are going to be needing some serious damage dealers, and also we need to figure out how to keep them alive 100% of the time. So here we go. We have Xayvia in the lead role. She has the amazing all battle attack up aura, certainly very useful in dealing a little bit more damage. And we have Holdheart in here. She is primarily in here for the 4-hit A1 counter, if my email will stop buzzing. She also brings quite a bit of damage and turn meter drain on the Heartseeker. Incredible ability, and I'm sure a lot of you guys uses Cold Heart for other areas of the game. A lot of people build her for Spider, and she's great there. And then we have Dracomorph. He is, pretty much good everywhere. The affinity, neutral, defense down, and weaken applies quite a bit of poison on the A2. Even if he is weak to the Force dungeon here, it can be frustrating seeing all the weaken hits and the resistances, but he's still the best single target damage dealer that I have with poison. And then we have the Arbiter. She is kind of the jack of all trades. We probably don't really need her in here if things went perfectly all the time, which they most definitely do not. So she's kind of that, the safety net or the insurance policy, if you will, mostly for the revive. The turn meter boost and the attack up are always nice to have as well. And then we have our Valkyrie in here. So Valkyrie was the second legendary I ever pulled behind Mashalad, who's not great, but Valkyrie is very useful. I use her basically everywhere that I can. I used her to have her tune very fast, but now she is on a taunt set primarily for Arena. Her function here in Fire Knight is to give us an A2 that actually mitigates two of the Fire Knight's abilities. One is his decreased max HP. Her shield is able to mitigate that, and also the turn hit shield that he has really goes down with a party counter attack that Valkyrie provides. In terms of potential replacements for this team, in the order of the easiest to the most difficult, I would say Draco can be upgraded with Tomb Lord, Nethril, and just easily replaced with Venus. Valkyrie can be replaced with Martyr, but you do lose the shield in exchange for defense buff. If you have a Blind Seer by some odd chance, she could be a fantastic replacement for the Arbiter. Then you would get that shield back along with some immunity against that slow. I would think that Raglan might actually be a better replacement for the Arbiter than even the Blind Seer, because she has a 2-turn cooldown revive, and Cold Heart does die quite a bit, and depending on cooldown specifically on Arbiter's revive, it could be up to 6 turns because I don't have her toned. Speaking of Cold Heart, I would not recommend Royal Guard for this because if he lands a weak hit, it does matter quite a bit more than Draco, for example, because he is a damage dealer. I cannot speak to Septimus. I would imagine he's incredibly good for this. I don't have one, so can't speak with certainty. I think the hardest to replace here is Xavia, because her Poison Explosion is just not a terribly common ability even amongst legendaries. Eleanor has one that works the same. It is affinity neutral, which is great, but she would have limited utility outside of that one single ability. She would not certainly clip the trash at the same rate as Xavia on the first 2 waves, which will slow you down. The other champions that I have found works in this comp in completely different ways includes Lysandra, Longbeard, Prince Kymar, and Turvold. He is just a real juggernaut in here on that Savage set. Lysandra locks down the Fire Knight single-handedly, given adequate speed and accuracy, which is great. Longbeard basically takes down his shield by himself every other turn, because you should be getting at least 2 turns to each of the boss's turn. And Prince Kymar is a little more RNG dependent. If you are playing this on manual, I actually think Kymar has the most potential. He can potentially allow you to take down a boss in 1 turn without him ever getting a hit off, but you know, that's 1 in 6 chance, which is not great. So that requires a little bit of manualing. Moving on from the composition, we need to talk about gear, specifically speed. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, none of these characters is specifically built or dedicated to the Fire Knight dungeon, which was the goal that we set out to accomplish when putting this team together. And also is part of the value justification in running this dungeon in the first place, at least as of right now. Valkyrie and Arbiter are geared Taunt and Frenzy for Arena. They're both in that 230, 240 speed range. Neither has any accuracy. They are both built with Resistance. Xavia and Dracomorph are geared for Dragon. They're in that 210, 215 range. Draco a little quicker than Xavia because he applies the debuffs. Cold Heart is probably the most casual build I have on this team. She is a very generic, minimalist spider build. 190 speed, 70% crit, 200 and some change accuracy. If you guys run spider, you know exactly the build that I'm talking about. And as you can see, that the speeds here are just all over the place. And that's fine because they're not full-time Fire Knight champions, and we need them good at their day job or whatever it is that they do. I will say that the biggest weakness in the current setup is that there is a 1 out of 3 chance that Valkyrie will not have her shield available for the first hit that boss lands on you due to cooldowns, and that is a devastating hit. It decreases max HP. outright kills Cold Heart, applies a slow to everyone else that doesn't have resistance, so it's not good. Cold Heart dying could definitely be a problem in this comp because it can take up to 6 turns before the Arbiter revives her, which really slows things down. The easy fix to that is just to have Valk at 280 speed. I had her at 284, I believe, before, at which point she was able to fairly easily take 3 turns before the Fire Knight took 1 without speed increases and decreases, and that way her shield is available 100% of the time, and that makes the runtime a lot more consistent. I would say that 200 accuracy on our 3 utility nukers are necessary. I do have Draco built for a little bit of crit, a little bit of crit damage. He's primarily on defense because he is mostly a clamp boss champion. Xavier and Coldheart are just built, thermonuclear maximum damage. We still need the accuracy on them in addition to crit rate and crit damage and speed. The rest of the gearing is actually fairly straightforward. Damage dealer on damage, sustain, gear on supports. We did get that best time of 2 minutes and 3 seconds with this team. I do think there are several ways to get it under that 2 minute mark and potentially push 130. But what we're looking for is sustainability and consistency. Fast times are great, but it's not worth it, to me anyway, if it comes at the cost of success rate. And so with that concludes our video of the day. Some of you may have noticed that on one of the runs, the Degenerate Boys Twitch stream notification popped up. That was entirely and completely unplanned, but I would most definitely encourage you to check him out on Twitch. His stream is a party pretty much all day, every day. I'm in there a lot. We're always talking about raid, football, and whatever other nonsense may be happening that day. We had a great shark polling session last night that was done with the community, so that was a lot of fun. And this brings an end to my first YouTube video on Raid Shadow Legends. I appreciate you watching. Leave me some thoughts in the comments if you think this team is too slow, or if you have ways of improving it, or you have some ideas on how they can run better. And I'm hoping you are enjoying the grind, and have a great day.